The clinking of rusted chains echoed under the blazing sun. In the desolate yard of a decrepit trailer, a dog's faint whimper pierced the silence. His once majestic white fur hung in dirty, matted clumps, and his hollow eyes begged for mercy, a soul on the brink of giving up. This was Duke, though no one had called him by a name in what felt like eternity. Rachel Weber gripped the steering wheel of her rescue van, her heart racing as the police dispatcher's words replayed in her mind. Urgent situation on Cedar Grove Road. Large white dog, possibly aggressive, chained up for months. Years of animal rescue couldn't prepare her for what she was about to see. The smell hit her first. Decay, infection, and despair wafted from the property. As Rachel and her colleague Marcus approached, the sight stopped them cold. A heavy logging chain had carved deep, bloody wounds into the dog's neck. Flies swarmed the open sores and his ribs jutted out painfully beneath his fur. Yet as Rachel crouched closer, the unimaginable happened. Duke's tail gave the faintest wag. "Sweet boy," Rachel whispered, her voice trembling. "We're here to help." Before she could act, the trailer door banged open, and a man stumbled out, beer can in hand. "What do you think you're doing with my dog?" he slurred. Rachel straightened, forcing calm into her voice. "Sir, this dog is in critical condition. By law, we can take him to provide medical care." The man sneered. "That's my property. Cost me $300. Rachel's stomach churned, but she stood her ground. "We'll give you $300 right now to let us take him." The man's bloodshot eyes narrowed, but greed won. "Fine. Take him." Moments later, Marcus snipped the chain with bolt cutters, freeing Duke from the prison that had held him for months. As they gently loaded him onto the stretcher, Duke's eyes met Rachel's, and despite his pain, he licked her hand. It was a fragile gesture of trust, a sign that he wasn't giving up just yet. At the emergency clinic, Dr. Elena Santos's experienced eyes widened at the sight of Duke. "We've got our work cut out for us," she said, slipping on surgical gloves. The chain had left a collar of infected wounds around his neck. Malnutrition had weakened him to the point where every movement seemed agonizing. Yet as the staff worked tirelessly, Duke remained calm. Even during the most painful procedures, his tail would wag faintly, as if to say, "Thank you." "I don't understand," a vet tech murmured. "After all humans have done to him, how can he still trust us?" Rachel, who hadn't left Duke's side, stroked his head. "Some souls are extraordinary that way." That night, Rachel couldn't sleep. Her mind replayed Duke's pain-filled eyes and his tiny gesture of trust. She returned to the clinic at midnight, finding him awake, his eyes following the sound of approaching footsteps. "Couldn't stay away, could you?" Rachel whispered as she sat beside his kennel. Duke placed his paw against the bars, and Rachel, tears streaming, whispered, "I promise you, I'll never let anyone hurt you again." As Rachel spoke, Duke whimpered softly, his eyes glistening as if understanding every word. Rachel reached through the bars, gently resting her hand on his paw. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as the bond between them deepened. Weeks passed, and Duke's transformation began. His wounds healed slowly, leaving scars that told a story of survival. His coat, once filthy and matted, grew back soft and white, but his emotional scars were harder to mend. Loud noises made him tremble, and he cowered at the sound of beer cans opening. One evening, during a routine checkup, a loud bang echoed from a nearby room. Duke immediately dropped to the floor, trembling uncontrollably. Rachel rushed to his side, whispering, "You're safe now, Duke. No one will hurt you ever again." She wrapped her arms around him, her own tears falling as Duke leaned into her embrace, finding solace in her presence. One stormy night, when thunder rattled the clinic's windows, Duke whimpered in fear. Rachel, unable to leave him, laid a blanket beside his kennel and read aloud from her favorite book of dog stories. As her voice calmed him, Duke rested his head on her lap. It was a moment of mutual healing, a bond forged in trust and compassion. Duke's first breakthrough came a month later. A local child had donated a squeaky polar bear toy to the clinic. Duke sniffed it cautiously before tentatively taking it in his mouth. When the squeak sounded, his tail wagged enthusiastically. The staff cheered, some wiping away tears. For Duke, it wasn't just a toy, It was a symbol of safety and joy rediscovered. One evening, as Rachel sat with Duke in the garden behind the clinic, she noticed him staring at the sunset. The fading light cast a golden hue over his fur, making him look almost regal. "You're a king, Duke," she said softly. To her surprise, he nuzzled her hand and let out a quiet, content sigh. "Even after everything, you still believe in love," Rachel whispered, her voice breaking. Rachel knew Duke's journey wasn't over. She began documenting his progress on social media, and soon Duke had thousands of followers cheering him on. One day, a comment caught her attention. "This dog reminds me of my daughter. She's struggling too. Could we meet him?" The message came from Claire Henderson, a retired trauma counselor. Claire's teenage daughter, Emma, had been battling severe anxiety. Rachel arranged a meeting, and the connection between Emma and Duke was instantaneous. Duke, sensing Emma's nervousness, gently rested his head on her lap, just as he had done with Rachel. Emma smiled for the first time in months. During their visit, a car backfired loudly outside. Emma froze, fear overtaking her. Duke immediately placed his paw on her knee, his calm presence grounding her. Rachel watched in awe as Emma took a deep breath, whispering, "Thank you, Duke." The Hendersons adopted Duke, transforming their sunroom into a sanctuary just for him. Emma spent hours reading to Duke, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. Inspired by Duke's resilience, Emma started a blog, Lessons from Duke, sharing daily reflections on healing and hope. The blog went viral, touching hearts worldwide. Under the Hendersons' care, Duke blossomed. His scars faded, but his spirit shone brighter than ever. He became a certified therapy dog, visiting hospitals and schools to comfort others. In one memorable moment, Duke approached a boy who hadn't spoken since a traumatic accident. As Duke rested his head on the child's bed, the boy's hand moved to touch his fur. It was his first voluntary movement in weeks. Duke's impact didn't stop there. The Hendersons, inspired by his journey, founded the Duke Sanctuary, a rehabilitation center for abused and traumatized animals. Duke became the sanctuary's heart, teaching other dogs how to trust and heal. His gentle nature and unyielding hope transformed countless lives. Years later, as the sun set over the sanctuary, Duke lay peacefully in the sunroom, surrounded by love. Emma, now a confident young woman studying veterinary medicine, read aloud from their favorite book. Duke's tail thumped softly, a rhythmic reminder of the life he had rebuilt, not just for himself, but for everyone he touched. Rachel often visited the sanctuary, marveling at how Duke's story had grown into a movement of kindness. "He taught us all something," she said one evening, watching Duke comfort a newly rescued dog. "That even the deepest wounds can become bridges to understanding, compassion, and hope." Duke's journey from a chained, broken dog to a beacon of healing was proof of the extraordinary power of love and second chances. His legacy lived on, a testament to the truth that no soul is ever too far gone to find its way home.